Representatives of organised business community, government and organised labour will gather at the National Economic Development Labour Council's 29th Annual Summit in Johannesburg today. Our reporter at the summit is Katlego Legodi. So let's take you there. Katlego, good morning. And let's just start by taking a look at what some of the pressing issues are facing the delegates who will be in attendance.
A very good morning to you, Sakina, and to our viewers at home. Today, of course, marking a milestone in terms of NEDLAC and the work that they've been doing with social partners. We see them talking about 30 years of taking stock in terms of where the country is, the issue of the economy just coming under the spotlight, but also the social partners' frank talks around the country and the move in terms of making sure that there's social welfare for those that are navigating this economy. So we see them today gathering those role players, those social partners will be here. We have government that will be here as well. We have the NEDLAC, it's here. We also have business as well as members of the community as well will form part of what is happening here today. We know very well that they've been working on this social compact for quite some time. This is a social compacting that was introduced by President Cyril Ramaphosa in 2022, and we hear that there's a need now to ensure that there's a move where this social compacting is concerned. But one thing that we know is the fact that they've already had two working groups looking at this particular report that they're going to be handing over to government, the new administration, in terms of how they would like to see the work of these social partners move in the coming 5 years. I'm going to bring into the conversation with us now the Executive Director of NEDLAC, Lisa, who will just give us a sense of what we can expect here today. I see that it's already a hive of activity set up underway, and you're ready really to kick off this particular conference here, looking at the past 30 years. And let's just reflect, you've been in existence for 30 years as NEDLAC, and you know very well that there are still those stumbling blocks and the issues that exist on the ground, and yours will be to bring everyone together to dialogue and try bring about a solution where these issues are concerned. Let's touch base, let's touch stock and take stock of where we come from and where we find ourselves here today. Welcome to the SABC, Lisa.
Sure, thank you very much, and thank you very much for hosting me. I just want to say that in addition to business, government and community, also today will be organised labour. And we have this annual summit once a year, as you said, really to take stock. But this is an important year because we're not only taking stock of the performance over the last year, but the performance of our country over 30 years, because this is the year in which we're celebrating 30 years of freedom and democracy. And the social partners decided that in addition to taking stock, we also need to look forward. And I think it's particularly important to look forward as we're facing new circumstances, both in the economy and in our political terrain. And it is for that reason that the social partners deliberated on the 30 years and have proposed a number of areas which they think are important for our economy to be able to grow and to be able to achieve greater social equity, and also to cushion workers, communities and small businesses as we face some serious transitions around issues, for example, of climate change and digitalization.
Let's talk about really the social dialoguing that has happened in the past 30 years, and if that has been able to move us as a country right now. We know very well that there are still issues with the economy, and there are really structural issues as well that will need to be tackled. As you dialogue year in and year out, let's talk about some of those tangible results and outcomes that you've managed to achieve as NEDLAC working with the social partners in the past 30 years.
Yes, I would think that we could probably look at two areas. The one area where NEDLAC has really played a critical role is particularly in the labour market, is that we have really played an important role in engaging all the laws that have transformed the labour market, like the Labour Relations Act, the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, and more recently, chaired by the President, we initiated the process of a national minimum wage. So NEDLAC, working together before bills go to Parliament, have really tried to shape the way in which our labour market has become transformed, both to improve the rights of workers and the protection of workers and to improve the functioning of the labour market. The second area where, and that's I suppose what you could call the social compacting side, is where we have come together around critical crises. Presidential Job Summit and of course the COVID pandemic. And there while we may have other differences, because there's a crisis, because there's something important, social partners have been able to come together agrees on ways to collaborate so that there can be a win-win for the country.
And also we saw the president, the deputy president last year, Paul Mashatile, delivering a keynote address and just giving us a sense of the stumbling blocks, the challenges that have not seen these social partners and this social compacting become a reality. Different ideologies coming from the communities, coming from the business, from labor, and just ensuring and government as well. We have not seen that particular move. How do we work around the ideologies and ensure that this dialoguing then is just not talk shop?
We're South Africa. We are very diverse. We do have a lot of differences. And I think that's also reflected in the way in which people voted in the last election. But I think the strength of social dialogue and the strength of NEDLAC is to bring people together where there is common cause. So if you look at some of the current challenges we face in our country, such as electricity, such as freight and logistics, such as the lack of a sufficient social wage and social protection, there is enough consensus to work together on those. Yes, there are differences, and sometimes the differences are stressful, but the challenge of social dialogue is to see how to work together where we can agree better.
Lisa, thank you very much for your time and everything of the best for today. Really, when you look at it, we're expecting to see some of those role players to flock into Sandton to form part of this particular conference here. They're talking about taking stock 30 years ago and going forward, planning for the future. We'll see a keynote address and various of those role players as well. And this document that will be submitted to the new government that they've been working on 30 years later, that will inform how the next 5 years is going to go, looking at the work of these social partners. Back to you in studio for now, Sakina.
Well, thanks so much, Katlego Legodi. And of course, he'll be our eyes and ears there at that particular gathering.